with the diamond, the pot of treacle, and the sheet of brown paper which was seldom omitted from his impedimenta. Nor did he dispense with my own assistance, though he may have accepted it as instinctively as it was proffered. In any case, it was these fingers that helped to spread the treacle on the brown paper, and pressed the latter to the glass until the diamond had completed its circuit and the pane fell gently back into our hands. Raffles now inserted his hand, turned the key in the lock, and by making a long arm succeeded in drawing the bolt at the bottom of the door. It proved to be the only one, and the door opened, though not very wide.
"What's that?"
said Raffles, as something crunched beneath his feet on the very threshold. "A pair of spectacles," I whispered, picking them up. I was still fingering the broken lenses and the bent rims when Raffles tripped and almost fell, with a gasping cry that he made no effort to restrain. "Hush, man, hush!" I entreated under my breath. "He'll hear you." For answer his teeth chattered, even his, and I heard him fumbling with his matches.
"No, Bunny, he won't hear us,"
whispered Raffles presently, and he rose from his knees and lit a gas as the match burnt down. Angus Baird was lying on his own floor, dead, with his grey hairs glued together by his blood. Near him a poker, with the black end glistening, in a corner of his desk, ransacked, littered. A clock ticked noisily on the chimney-piece. For perhaps 100 seconds there was no other sound. Raffles stood very still, staring down at the dead, as a man might stare into an abyss after striding blindly to its brink. His breath came audibly through the wide nostrils. He made no other sign, and his lips seemed sealed. "That light," said I hoarsely. "The light we saw under the door." With a start he turned to me.
"It's true. I had forgotten it. It was in here I saw it first."
"He must be upstairs still."
"If he is, we'll soon rout him out. Come on."
Instead, I laid a hand upon his arm, imploring him to reflect, that his enemy was dead now, that we should certainly be involved, that now or never was our own time to escape. He shook me off in a sudden fury of impatience, a reckless contempt in his eyes, and bidding me save my own skin if I liked, he once more turned his back upon me, and this time left me half resolved to take him at his word. Had he forgotten on what errand he himself was here? Was he determined that this night should end in black disaster? As I asked myself these questions his match flared in the hall. In another moment the stairs were creaking under his feet, even as they had creaked under those of the murderer, and the humane instinct that inspired him in defiance of his risk was borne in also upon my slower sensibilities. Could we let the murderer go? My answer was to bound up the creaking stairs and to overhaul Raffles on the landing. But 3 doors presented themselves. The first opened into a bedroom with the bed turned down but undisturbed. The second room was empty in every sense. The third door was locked. Raffles lit the landing gas.
"He's in there,"
said he, cocking his revolver.
"Do you remember how we used to break into the studies at school? Here goes."
His flat foot crashed over the keyhole. The lock gave. The door flew open, and in the sudden draught the landing gas heeled over like a cobble in a squall. As the flame righted itself, I saw a fixed bath, 2 bath towels knotted together, an open window, a cowering figure, and Raffles struck aghast on the threshold.
"Jack Rutter?"
The words came thick and slow with horror, and in horror I heard myself repeating them, while the cowering figure by the bathroom window rose gradually erect. "It's you!" he whispered, in amazement no less than our own. "It's you two! What's it mean, Raffles? I saw you get over the gate. A bell rang. The place is full of them. Then you broke in. What's it all mean?"
"We may tell you that when you tell us what in God's name you've done, Rutter."
"Done? What have I done?" The unhappy wretch came out into the light with bloodshot, blinking eyes and a bloody shirt front. "You know. You've seen. But I'll tell you if you like. I've killed a robber, that's all. I've killed a robber, a usurer, a jackal, a blackmailer, the cleverest and cruelest villain unhung. I'm ready to hang for him. I'd kill him again." And he looked us fiercely in the face, a fine defiance in his dissipated eyes, his breast heaving, his jaw like a rock. "Shall I tell you how it happened?" he went passionately on. "He's made my life a hell these weeks and months past. You may know that. A perfect hell. Well, to-night I met him in Bond Street. Do you remember when I met you fellows? He wasn't 20 yards behind you. He was on your tracks, Raffles. He saw me nod to you and stopped me and asked me who you were. He seemed as keen as knives to know. I couldn't think why, and didn't care either, for I saw my chance. I said I'd tell him all about you if he'd give me a private interview. He said he wouldn't. I said he should, and held him by the coat. By the time I let him go you were out of sight, and I waited where I was till he came back in despair. I had the whip hand of him then. I could dictate where the interview should be, and I made him take me home with him, still swearing to tell him all about you when we'd had our talk. Well, when we got here I made him give me something to eat, putting him off, and about 10 o'clock I heard the gate shut. I waited a bit, and then asked him if he lived alone. 'Not at all,' says he. 'Did you not see the servant?' I said I'd seen her, but I thought I'd heard her go. If I was mistaken, no doubt she would come when she was called, and I yelled 3 times at the top of my voice. Of course, there was no servant to come. I knew that, because I came to see him one night last week, and he interviewed me himself through the gate, but wouldn't open it. Well, when I had done yelling and not a soul had come near us, he was as white as that ceiling. Then I told him we could have our chat at last, and I picked up the poker out of the fender and told him how he'd robbed me, but by God he shouldn't rob me any more. I gave him 3 minutes to write and sign a settlement of all his iniquitous claims against me, or have his brains beaten out over his own carpet. He thought a minute, and then went to his desk for pen and paper. In 2 seconds he was round like lightning with a revolver, and I went for him bald-headed. He fired 2 or 3 times and missed. You can find the holes if you like. But I hit him every time. My God! I was like a savage till the thing was done, and then I didn't care. I went through his desk looking for my own bills, and was coming away when you turned up. I said I didn't care, nor do I, but I was going to give myself up to-night, and shall still, so you see I shan't give you fellows much trouble." He was done, and there we stood on the landing of the lonely house, the low, thick, eager voice still racing and ringing through our ears, the dead man below, and in front of us his impenitent slayer. I knew to whom the impenitence would appeal when he had heard the story, and I was not mistaken.
"That's all rot," said Raffles, speaking after a pause. "We shan't let you give yourself up."
"You shan't stop me. What would be the good? The woman saw me. It would only be a question of time, and I can't face waiting to be taken. Think of it, waiting for them to touch you on the shoulder. No, 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 I'll give myself up and get it over." His speech was changed. He faltered, he floundered. It was as though a clearer perception of his position had come with the bare idea of escape from it.
"But listen to me," urged Raffles. "We're here at our peril ourselves. We broke in like thieves to enforce redress for a grievance very like your own. But don't you see, we took out a pane, did the thing like regular burglars. Regular burglars will get the credit for all the rest."
"You mean I shan't be suspected?"
"I do."
"But I don't want to get off scot-free," cried Rutter hysterically. "I've killed him, I know that. But it was in self-defence, it wasn't murder. I must own up and take the consequence. I shall go mad if I don't." His hands twitched, his lips quivered, the tears were in his eyes. Raffles took him roughly by the shoulder.
"Look here, you fool! If the 3 of us were caught here now, do you know what those consequences would be? We should swing in a row at Newgate in 6 weeks' time. You talk as though we were sitting in a club. Don't you know it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and the lights on, and a dead man down below? For God's sake pull yourself together and do what I tell you, or you're a dead man yourself."
"I wish I was one," Rutter sobbed. "I wish I had his revolver to blow my own brains out. It's lying under him.
Oh, my God!